McCarthy Perry is an evolving lawyer from New Jersey, USA, a certified yoga and meditation teacher, laughter yoga leader, and a lifelong learner. For 22 years, she was a corporate lawyer focused on healthcare law and negotiated complex commercial contracts. In September 2020, she released her in-house position at a large pharmaceutical company with much gratitude to begin a new chapter in her life. Currently, she's enthusiastically completing the Conscious Contracts Certification course and the Lifebook Leader Certification program, and looks forward to using her new skills to empower people to envision, plan, and achieve their very best life. She is interested in the intersection of health and wellness and the law, and passionate about helping lawyers live their lives more consciously and counsel their clients more compassionately. I'm so excited to introduce you to my friend and fellow attorney, Cara Perry.
Thank you so much, Rika. Are you a conscious entrepreneur who breaks out in a cold sweat when it's time to sign your contract? Do you want to enter into a business relationship with a friend, but you're worried that it could ruin the friendship? Have you ever struck a business deal, the parties agree on all the terms, it's the perfect situation, and then the lawyers come in and it all goes south? Would you like to actually read and understand your contracts? If you've answered yes to any of these questions, then I am so thrilled to introduce you to a process called Conscious Contracts. Conscious contracts are one of the many paradigms that integrative lawyers are using to reimagine the adversarial system that currently exists. That system generates lots of anxiety for people and often results in relationships falling apart. These integrative lawyers are using a lot of different ways to help people be in relation to each other as far as their contracts go. After all, contracts are really about relationships. It's about two parties coming together and forming that bond about things that they're going to do for each other and expect from one another. So how do conscious contracts differ from regular contracts? When we think of a contract, most people think of a formal document that sets forth certain terms, like who's doing what, when, and for how much, as well as what to do or what happens when the who doesn't do the what for the amount they said. But by focusing on these deal terms, which are important to have, but focusing just solely on those in the beginning of any relationship in a business arrangement, it starts to put us into that adversarial system and positioning right from the beginning. So the negotiations become that, am I getting my fair share? And the win-lose mentality. Conscious contracts take a different approach. It's relationship-based. So in that sense, it's looking for the law to really help foster the relationship, not turn it into something that becomes adversarial. It's more of a collaborative approach. It also uses a deep discovery of different values and starts to build trust between the parties, which is key to building a conscious contract. The opposite of trust is fear and control. Most contracts, the way that we traditionally contract, your attorney is really trying to predict and protect from things in the future, things that we may not even know or can't even think of. Pandemic, 2020, ring a bell? The approach for conscious contracts is to have a sense and respond, to allow the parties' relationship to evolve and the contract to actually evolve with it. It's not based on fear like traditional legal contracts are. That was my traditional training, and it's most attorneys' traditional training. Rather, through this trust, through this relationship, and really doing a deep dive into people's values, it allows the relationship to first foster and grow before you get into all those deal terms. As Alala Linda Alvarez, who is one of the co-founders of Conscious Contracts and wrote the book on it called Discovering Agreement, has said, conscious contracts are able to think and evolve. They're not, as Kim Wright says, who's the other co-founder of Conscious Contracts and has written 2 books called Lawyers as Peacemaker and Lawyers as Changemaker, among other books she's written. Conscious contracts are not meant to be just thrown in the drawer and never looked at. In fact, they're meant to change and grow as the party grows. So there's 3 key elements to the conscious contract. That's the touchstone, The ACED, which stands for Addressing Change and Engaging in Disagreement, also called the Peace Pact or the Harmony Provision outside of the US, and the Action Plan. The first is the touchstone, and this is the part where the parties really do that deep examination to try and understand their values, understand their mission, and their shared vision. They also need to look here at their constraints and limitations. By going through this process, this helps to, again, build that trust and have that relationship. So first, they examine their vision. The vision is what you want in the world, how you want to see the world. What change do you want to bring, or do you want your company to bring to the world? The second is looking at the mission. The mission is really why you're contracting. How are you going to make that change? What is it about this relationship that's going to help you get there? Your values and principles are what you live by and how you make your decisions. They're those deeply held values that you, in order to live in integrity, your actions have to be in alignment with. And constraints and limitations are things that either never can be or absolutely have to be so for you to move forward with the relationship or with the action plan. This is the key part of building that trust and building that foundational relationship. And it's often at this time where the parties are looking deeply into these elements before they look into all the deal terms that they might find out that they're actually not aligned in their vision, or maybe they're not aligned in their mission, or their values and their principles are just too different. And that's okay. Sometimes, really, the best contracts are the contracts that aren't made. So this gives them an opportunity before there's lots of money spent on drafting documents and all the deal terms and all those negotiations to really understand if they're aligned and want to move forward. Once they decide that they're aligned and that the touchstone reflects their vision, mission, shared values and principles, and their constraints and limitations, the second part of the agreement is the ACED. This is really the meat and the potatoes of the document. This is where the parties set forth and create their own structural communication design for engaging in disagreement. Conscious Contracts understands and also makes it okay that conflict is inevitable in relationships. It happens in every relationship. Whether it's a business relationship, a personal relationship, there's always conflict. The key is how we're going to engage in change and engage in disagreement so that we can get to someplace better. The ACED is a process the parties look at to see how they deal with conflict resolution. And Reka is going to go into great discussion on conflict resolution and her expertise in that area. But for now, it's just understanding that the parties will examine this. And when one party, maybe they want an immediate response if there's a conflict, another party may need some time to reflect and to think. So all these different conflict styles are built into this communication design. It's really key to have a step-by-step process and have it in the language that reflects the parties to the agreement. When humans are under stress, we're not necessarily at our best. We can sometimes immediately go into our natural freeze, fight, or flight reaction. The ACED anticipates this and has the parties try and come up with ways to put a pause on that kind of reaction so that the parties can really show up having discussions in a better frame of mind. Sometimes that pause might be they'll read their touchstone, reminding them of exactly why they came together in the first place. What was that shared vision? And what was their mission to get there? Sometimes it may be just taking a few minutes before the meeting starts to say something about the relationship that you appreciate, to note something in the partnership that's working. It's really just taking that meta moment for everybody to take a deep breath before you're going to enter into courageous conversations. This is also the part of the agreement that the parties have to really understand it needs to be in their own words and really reflect them. It's not a template. It's not something that the lawyers can just draft. It's really another deep dive into what personal styles that they have and what's going to best serve them to try and come up with a resolution in a creative way. Some people have done things like they always go out to lunch when they're discussing an ACED conflict. Other people have done things like they take a picture of a selfie once they come to a resolution to remind them of past conflicts they've been able to overcome and to get someplace better. And finally, after the ACED, there's the action plan. These are really the deal terms. There's still going to be actions that the parties are going to have to do, and we still live in the legal paradigm that exists now. So there'll have to be those terms and conditions. But the conscious contract, the touchstone, and the ACED process, those will be condition precedents to engaging in any other kind of alternate dispute resolution. As Alala Alvarez says, when people protest, what if I want to litigate? You can keep your personal hell if you want to litigate. The ACAD and the touchstone are really things that you're going to do before you engage in arbitration or mediation or litigation. It's never going to prevent you from going there, but hopefully through the process, the parties will be able to come to a better solution, a more creative way to engage in these conflicts, and a way to keep their relationship intact. So if any of this resonates with you, if the thought of being able to read your own agreements, understand your own agreements, have your contracts really reflect your values and your business's values, if that excites you, if contracting as consciously as you do business is something that really interests you, I welcome you to visit the website Conscious Contracts, where you'll see that there's other practitioners who are really practicing in such creative ways. Some practitioners have used Lego building when there was clients who were getting together to build a project. And the Legos were used to really discover these values and principles. Others have used comic books in employment agreements so that the parties really understand, and it's an easy way to understand what's expected, what your rights and obligations are. The conscious contracts are used all throughout the world and in many different types of arrangements. They're often used in divorce settlement cases, in prenuptial agreements, in postnuptial agreements, in partnerships, and in lease agreements. I am extremely happy to be a part of this paradigm shift. I practiced for 22 years as a corporate attorney, and I now realize that I probably was part of the problem, not knowing how to consciously contract for my clients. They had some great collaborative ideas that they would want to do with partners, and I, as a lawyer, traditionally trained, often came into it with a fear-based mentality. I just wanted to protect and protect my clients. With the conscious contract approach, it's very exciting to be able to really get to know your clients and really get to reflect their values and their principles in their agreement and have the document be something that not only can they read, but they're often very proud of and feel extremely excited to have co-collaborated. So if you're interested, please take a look at the website. There are practitioners listed there, and I hope soon to be able to be listed there as I finish my certification. We're also always looking for clients for the clinic at Quinnipiac Law School, where I have the deep honor of assisting teaching law students on conscious contracts. That information is also on the website. I hope that this little brief introduction to conscious contracts sparked some interest and gave you a little hope that the legal field is made up of creative people who are really trying to find conscious and collaborative solutions. Thank you so much.
Available on Roku, Amazon Fire, Apple TV, and Google Play.